Hello, I'm Vandana and I work in Atlassian. When I started my career 25 years ago, I was a textile designer. I learned the techniques and skills of constructing fabric and I worked in a factory. Today, I lead experience design and I've got a whole different set of expertise and behaviors and human computer interaction, software services, and design management. There are no guarantees that the skills that it took me 25 years to build is going to stay relevant in the future. We're living through change. Both 2020 and COVID has forced us to address that right here, right now. But as we settle through this, we're going to have to prepare for the future. For us to achieve remarkable things, we have to be able to unleash our own potential. And in today's talk, I'm going to be sharing an approach from John Price, Atlassian's work futurist, that's going to help you lead through this change. I always like to start with the values that drive Atlassian, and you're going to be noticing a few of these in my talk. There's open company, no bullshit. I'm going to be sharing internal stories. I'll be talking about how you can be the change you seek, and by doing so, how you're going to be doing the right things for your customers. So let's talk about the future. And you know, there have been utopian and dystopian views of the future. You're going to work a 4-hour or a 4-day work week, or it's going to be doom and gloom and machines are going to take over and rule the world. I don't buy into either of those, but I do believe we can tap into our understanding of what's happening right now. Software is enabling every industry to move faster. Competition is rising. You could be the disruptor or the disruptee. Customer expectations are changing. There's a demand to innovate faster. And we also have the choice to choose what do we do with what is possible. Just because we have the ability to stay always on with our mobile devices doesn't mean that we have to be always on. We're building more complicated systems. We've got more complex problems to be solved. It requires curiosity and creativity, new ways of thinking and doing for us to be successful. So at the center of all of this are people. At the center is you. How do you get better at doing the right things at the right time and not doing everything all of the time? That's what I'm going to be covering. And to start, here are 3 awesome things that are going to be able to help you amplify yourself. Let's start with context. 2020 was a year in which everything that we held to be true was challenged. And it's going to be necessary for us to re-establish context. So when you talk about change, what are the things that you can influence? There's people, their skills, their ability to learn and grow, their mindset, the roles that they play. How do you lean into diverse perspectives that individuals bring? Next are practices. Now, this used to be called processes, but processes is about certainty, when you know what's going to happen when you do things a particular way. Practices are more about guardrails. They're more effective way of working because when about 80% is defined, it provides you 20% where you can be, which you can adapt to your environment. Then you've got products and technology. And a lot of leaders start with technology first. They focus on connectivity, the devices, as AI or ML or automation. But without people and practices in place, tools are not going to get you those desired outcomes. And finally, you've got place or the physical environments where you work, whether it's an office, a co-working space, or home on the go. We've already been disrupting place, working from coffee shops, on the phone. COVID's just surfaced this to a lot more of us now. You can focus on any one of these and kind of get best of breed here. But really to be successful, you've got to be congruent across all of them. The right people, using the right processes, equipped with the right tools, wherever they work. Now, once you've figured out what you're going to be influencing, you can decide who you're going to be impacting. In Atlassian, we play and start with our ideas first. We experiment with our own teams. we dog food everything that we do, and then we take this to our customers. I differentiate between our customers and users as the people who buy our products and services for the value to their business, and users being those who we delight because of how we help them get their work done. Next are the influencers. These are platforms that, for instance, Atlassian uses, whether it's AWS or it's Google. And there's the broader ecosystem around what your organization does. In Atlassian's case, we have our marketplace apps ecosystem, which employs more people than we employ in our own company. That also becomes a multiplier. So you can use this structure and map out the sequence in which you will impact. Just be consistent across all of them and can do it. And then we come to the when. With the year that just hasn't ended, it's clear that a lot of the focus of change we have to deal with is right now, to take care of what's happening everywhere. But as we come out of this, there is going to be the future. How do we take the learnings from here? How do we project forward into the future and look at what that environment is going to be for everything that we build? The reality is that all of these dimensions come together. It's not about any one of them in isolation. Let's talk about what happened when COVID hit. And here's an example. Like everybody else, we thought it was all about place. And within 48 hours, we had pivoted and got our workforce to work remotely from wherever they were around the world, all 5,000 employees. Now, research had told us overwhelmingly that knowledge workers in India had, more than anywhere else, had a preference to work remotely, having more flexibility in where they choose to work. But what they struggled with, what we heard from them later, was how they were working. What we missed was the practices. We had copy-pasted the ways that we worked in an in-person environment, in office, where all things were equal. And we just moved that to everybody in a remote environment. And that was not at all optimal. So we had to work on getting better at that ourselves. And then we've shared this with others and helped them make a difference to now. And once we've got learnings from this, we're looking ahead at what could it mean for our practices and work in the future. That takes us now from context to you, the second possible thing. Just like organizations have to start with themselves, as Atlassian is doing, you need to start with you when you're driving change. You have to be the best version of yourself. You have to start investing in your own transformation. It's actually interesting that you'll hear from many leaders who drive transformation in their departments, their companies, that they're not investing in transforming themselves. It's everybody else needs to change, but they're doing fine. I believe true leaders lead through role modeling. Every one of you role models for your team, for your family, for your friends. So how do you make sure that you're the best version of yourself? I'm going to share with you the 4 L's exercise. September last year, I was really struggling with all the things that I was doing and the complete lack of motivation to keep powering through. I felt like I was working more, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And this was an exercise that Tom had me do. Hold a mirror up to yourself for me to look into. It had nothing to do with my team or any other external factors. Just look at myself. I had looked back at the past 90 days and put down what was it that I loved about what I'd done as a leader. Not liked, because they have to be what I loved. Because if it was valuable enough, it was probably my superpower. I should be doing more of it. I should be sharing it with more people so that they can come to me for help if they need that. The next 2 questions were related to this. What have I longed for, that I wanted to do, that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've just not gotten down to doing that? And why? Well, it's probably because I'm full. The cognitive load and the things that you do every day, there's no space to take up something new. There's no place in your schedule, and burnout is real. So I can't take this up until I've answered the third question, which is what did I loathe or hate about the last 90 days? What were those things that I was doing that wasn't getting me anywhere? And can I find a way to stop this? Because for you to try doing something new, try getting better at where you are, you have got to let go of what's not making you effective anymore. And the last one was what have I learned in the 90 days? What did I experiment with? What did I try for the first time? Did something happen unexpectedly that I handled or I didn't handle? And what I learned about myself in the last 90 days was that I loathed meetings. I ended up every day feeling like a zombie, this is one of the words coined by a colleague of mine. And I felt that at the end of the day, I wasn't effective. I was just busy. So now I could pinpoint what I had to change. But how did that make me a better leader? It seems a bit like time management. I had to really dig into why was I in those meetings. Was it because I felt I had to control the decisions that were being made? Is it did I have a problem trusting that someone could make a decision if I wasn't there? I realized I had been in the role of a know-it-all. I was blind to what had been changing around me and thinking that I was indispensable in all of these meetings. What I had needed to do earlier when I was starting a team, setting up a new group, it was no longer necessary because the talent in the team had grown. There were new leaders, and I didn't need to be doing all of this. So that meant I now chose to make dramatic change and take back control of meetings. I delegated meetings that I didn't need to be part of. I moved out those that I didn't have a role in. Those recurring meetings that just sit in your calendar because they've just been there forever. I reached out to those owners and had them delete me and uninvite myself from that. And I shared that for decisions and information that I needed to know, I would stay across it asynchronously. I would read them offline, but I didn't have to attend everything anymore. I got back 15 hours, which gave me a lot more time and space for what I worked. So this exercise, these 4 L's, is something that you can do by yourself, and it helps you evolve and deal with change. Investing in change is critical to your well-being. Today we're working longer hours. Our research showed us that we're doing an average of 1 hour more per day this year than we were doing the year before. There's more complexity, so you're going to need more brain power. AI and automation is taking over the repetitive tasks. Each individual is grappling with this change to their environment and continuing to do things the way they were doing them before, which is leading to burnout. We have to recognize what isn't working and how do we let go of what is not useful. So the 4 L's helps you stay relevant, and it will make it possible for you to thrive both in today's business and as you go forward. So now you've become the best version of yourself. What's the third awesome thing? Well, you can become a force multiplier for your team. Because more complex problems means more brains, teams are needed to solve this. So how do we make that happen? What do we know about teams? High achieving teams have clear goals, metrics, game plans, and checklists to get their work done. But we've been over indexing a little bit on high performing teams being the only goal. What we need to look at is sustainably effective teams, balancing high performance with sustainability. And those who focus on their emotional well-being, who focus on team cohesion, on team belonging, where every individual in the team feels that they can bring their true self to the work and really be a team player, socializing and sharing with their colleagues. We've had plays or sort of game plans that we've been running that can help you diagnose how a team is going. It's called the health monitor. And once you've identified areas that you want to improve, then you can use our plays and game plans for different teams like DevOps, annual planning, and HR and people teams. So these are like recipe cards that we've created that can be accessed and used by anyone. It's really simple, has a list of instructions, easy to follow, and they're available to everybody of our website. You don't have to buy anything and you don't have to sign up. You can just head to Atlassian Team Playbook and help yourself. So I want to share with you a recent play that we've just built. It was based on research that we ran over 5,000 employees worldwide, different sizes of organizations, about their experience working through COVID. It's called the Work-Life Impact Play. And it's based on what we found that each individual and organization experiences work from home differently based on three factors. There's the household factor, which is the care responsibilities that the individual has to people in the house, the size of the area, the physical environment that they are in. Second is the role that they have and the people that they need to interact with. So can they work independently? Do they need to work with internal teams? Are they dependent on interacting or engaging with external stakeholders? And the third is network, their social network and their work network. It speaks to the way that they choose, to the resilience that they build up. How connected are they? So we ran this play with some of our teams, and we got to hear of team members who are struggling with fatigue, someone having to get off a call because it was time for their child to now get online and do their classes, someone struggling with so many back-to-back meetings, not having the time to get lunch ready because that's what they needed to do. Managers spending more time in one-on-ones, helping their team members stay connected with the goals. And employees who joined completely remotely, who were feeling disconnected because the only people they spoke to were their immediate team. So this told us so much about the entire work experiences that were happening. And it also helped teams build empathy for each other. There was better communication, better team cohesion, and each individual team could work on practices that made sense for the experiences their teams were having. And the other part was the realization that this was not a permanent state. This was something that would keep shifting across time. So we ran the play every few months. And you can run this play with your team. It doesn't need any setup. You can shape more effective ways of working. So now that you've understood that context, that what's happening in the world around you, you've figured out how you can be the best version of yourself with 4 L's, and you can be a force multiplier for your team. So how do you get there? Whose job is it? Well, it's your job. It's all our jobs. We have to start by unleashing ourselves and being the best version that we can be. Once you've done that, take it to your team, unleash your team. And when you unleash your team, you will unleash the potential of your organization, and that will be the best thing for your customers. That's the right sequence and focus that you need to do. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm Vandana.